speed, power. This trophy is not given, it must be earned. The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. May 25th through 27th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia.
In the stick, boom, on the money, cradle on the pass. With the first championship.
Visit ncaa.com/lacrosse to get your tickets today.
Happy game day. Get that tie figured out. We're ready to roll. Welcome to College Central here on LSN. We're rolling deep today. He's Tom Eschen. We got the former Villanova standout, Danny Seibel. I'm Travis Eldridge. You ready to roll?
Ready to rock.
Let's do this.
So let's start. Let's get after today's marquee matchups. We'll start in the ACC, a pair of key games in conference, and we'll begin number 7 Notre Dame against 8th-ranked Duke. This is interesting.
It is. Who you got as an X factor?
Big tilt today. You know, I have Brad Smith as the X factor. I know that's kind of, he's their big guy, but you know what? If he shows up, has a big game, Duke's going to win the game. You know, Brad Smith, he's a stud. Absolute stud. You know, they bumped him down to attack this year. Him paired with Joe Robertson down there, I think, and Joe Manone. You know, they're the X factors, but specifically Brad Smith. If he has a good game, it's Duke's game to win.
Go ahead, Travis.
No, when you look at Notre Dame and we see what they've done, they've got 3 wins over teams that were top 10 at the moment when they played. What do you make of them? Because I don't know what to make of them.
Neither do I. You know, they drop a stinker to Richmond. You know, Richmond, great team, but you know, Notre Dame should win that game, right?
Yeah.
So, and then they bounce back with some great wins. And so, you know what? I don't know what to make of that team. I think they have a young attack group down low. You know, they're kind of anchored by their senior middies. And I think they're learning as they go, and they're getting better as the season goes on.
I wanted to ask you about sort of the bounce-back feel of Duke and having a guy like John Danowski, a coach that can sort of motivate after a loss to North Carolina. Again, they probably should have won. How much of that is a factor in this kind of a game? I know you probably experienced that.
Yeah, definitely. You know, Coach Danowski, right? He's you know, world-class coach. He knows how to get his guys going. You know, they want to win. You know. They're going to bounce back. They know this is a huge conference matchup. Every conference game is important, right? Like, it's a new season. As soon as you get into conference play, everyone's playing for seeding. Everyone wants that AQ. So I think Coach Danowski is going to get those guys going. They know the importance of this game for a bounce back. Yeah,
it's a big ACC game when you look at the slate because look, Duke 1-2 now in the conference. If they lose, you fall to 1-3. You're looking at the 4 or 5 seed, and you're going to have to play that Thursday of the ACC tournament before you even look ahead to the semifinals. Speaking of the ACC, another big one in conference, the last 2 unbeatens in the league. Number 19, North Carolina, coming off that win over Duke, taking on number 4, Virginia. Let's start with the Heels. Freshmen leading the way. They got Caton Johnson, the freshman, in goal. They've got a starting attack unit of all freshmen. How about the Heels?
You know, I think they're awesome to watch. You know, I think goalies have the ability to steal games, right? And their goalie is playing out of his mind right now.
Stole a game against Duke.
Exactly.
21 saves in that game.
Exactly. If you're double digits, never mind in the 20s, you're stealing a game. So I like watching the Heels, but I mean, I love UVA. I love everything about Virginia. I think they're a team that has the ability to run late into May. So I'm excited for this game, and I think UVA has the ability to run away with this one.
What's your X factor in this one?
My X factor is Ian Laviano.
Okay.
Off-ball attackman. He has 31 goals this year. He's the benefactor of a lot of those stud guys at UVA. You know, you got the Moores, you got the Docs Aikens, right?
Michael Krause.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They get a lot of attention. And Ian Laviano is able to benefit from that. I don't think he gets enough credit. You know, he's potting a lot of goals for them and, you know, benefiting off of some great players UVA has. So I think he is the X factor. You know, I see him. He's had a lot of big games this year and is able to kind of change the course of a game. And
Laviano, I think, is probably in a tough spot because he's playing in a generation where there's so many great attackmen right now in a time period that he probably gets overlooked a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think he has such quick hands, has the ability to catch and shoot so fast. He is a great player. You know, I love his intensity. You know, he's always riding hard, and he gets so fired up after every single one of UVA's goals. I love the way the kid plays.
Been fun to watch for sure. So let's move on now. We'll go to the Ivy League game. There's a few intriguing games in this conference, and we'll start with this first one. We've got Penn and Brown. Penn, who's won 5 straight. They lost those 3 after the beginning of the year, and all top 5 teams. We kind of know their story by this point. Now they're rolling. And Brown, who's been intriguing. I mean, they've had some close games. They came close to Villanova.
2-0, right?
Yeah, let's take a look at these standings here. You can see they're the top 2 teams in the conference going at it here early in the conference season. So as you look at this game between Penn and Brown, what is the deal? What's the X factor in this one?
So I think this game is a must-win for Brown.
Okay.
They're 2-0 in the Ivy League. They're out of conference. They didn't do great. They need this win. But my X factor is Reed Junkin between the pipes for Penn. You know, he's saving the ball at 52% this year. He's been a 3-year starter, or 4-year starter now for UPenn, Pennsylvania. So I think he's the X factor. If he has a good game above 50%, I see Penn running away with this one.
And you look at Reed Junkin, 22 saves last week in that 3 overtime thriller against Yale. Dude is double digits in all but 1 game so far this year. For me, I think one of the interesting things is here, you look at Penn's schedule. They already have a win over Princeton, Cornell, and Yale. Those are the 3 teams we talked about entering the Ivy League season. Do they go unbeaten if they win here today in the conference?
You know, conference play is so tough. I think conference play, anybody can beat anyone. You know, Dartmouth might come out and have a great game. Like, I think conference play is so intense. It's a different level of the season that I think, you know, you gotta be on your A game. Do I see them winning out? I think it's a good chance, but they need to keep it up. They can't have a stinker.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Harvard plays people tough.
Yeah, Princeton.
Don't sleep on Brown today.
Yeah, Brown.
I like the Brown Bears
today. Yeah,
I do like the
Providence.
I do like the Brown Bears in Providence. I think Brown has a lot to offer. You know, they're a lot to handle. They took UVA down to the wire.
Same thing with Villanova.
Exactly.
Beat Princeton last week, so it's not like they're a doormat. And these, as you might know, the conference games, everything sort of evens out a little bit.
How about Cornell, 10th ranked team in the country? They get the trip to Harvard here today. Is this a bounce back situation for the Big Red? They haven't been sharp.
I love Harvard. I love their goalie. I think he has the ability. We're talking about goalies stealing games. He has the ability to steal a game. But I think Cornell, you know, this is a road trip, business trip for them. They need this win. You know, I love their attack unit with Peterson, Jeff Teat, and Piatelli. I think that is one of the best attack units in the country. Piatelli's really coming on this year in his sophomore season. I think they have the ability to come out with a win today.
And I think Cornell's been a little quieter than they would have liked. I mean,
Yeah.
even when they were in the top 5 for a while, because they hadn't played the best competition, everyone was like, how good are they? Then they go and rip Towson down in Charlotte. So I think Cornell might be trying to make some statement as we head in the Ivy League farther in that schedule as we head farther in the month of April.
And they've missed a bunch of opportunities to make those statements with the losses to Yale and Penn. So it'll be interesting. They got to get into the conference tournament and then try to make some statements there. How about your old team?
Let's go to the Big East.
Villanova taking on Denver out in Denver. Last season, when you were on the team,
on
Danny,
the field, on the field
on
for
the
this.
field, yeah.
you guys gave up 18 first-half goals to the Pios as they were able to walk all over you at Villanova.
That's crazy.
That was tough to watch.
It
was tough to watch from the midfield.
What is that locker room like?
At halftime?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's not our day. It's not. Let's try to get better in the second half. All we can do is try to work on what we talked about. We're not going to win this game, but we can get better.
So that was obviously a byproduct of Trevor Baptiste playing for Denver then. He's not there anymore. You got Brett Bowes, the freshman at the faceoff X, which leads us to Villanova. What are the X factors for the Wildcats?
My X factors for the Wildcats, X factors plural, is Dan Fisher and Zach Ornstein, the faceoff guys. Villanova has a little bit of a two-headed dragon at the faceoff X. Zach Ornstein transferring from Albany and Dan Fisher, they're both battle-tested. They both have a ton of experience. And, it's life after Trevor Baptiste for Denver. You know, I unfortunately had to play against Trevor Baptiste for 4 years. Unfortunately, we didn't win many face-offs.
You don't
in
know
my
what
career.
life is like after Trevor Baptiste. That is your life.
Exactly.
That was your lacrosse life.
Exactly. So I played Denver 5 times in my career. I think we may have won 5 face-offs in that whole time. But so it's going to be interesting to see. I think Villanova has the face-off advantage. And if Villanova can control possessions, I think they have a chance at this one. You know, it would be a huge win for Villanova. They're 6-4 right now. They had a good start, you know, beating #1 in the country, Yale, and then they dropped a couple stinkers. And so it would be interesting to see this game, and I think this is a huge opportunity for Villanova to bolster that at-large resume.
So you got them today?
I have Villanova, yes.
That would be, don't forget.
At Peter Barton, it's a tough one.
I didn't want to repeat this too often, but Denver still has never lost a Big East regular season game.
That is true.
So that is a hot take.
But
coming in.
But they have lost a couple Big East championships.
They have.
That's okay.
Tournament
that's a good
games,
point.
different story.
Tournament
Regular
games, regular season. Yeah.
Pio's
Not to
unbeaten.
Villanova, but
You still got to get him.
Yes.
Danny thinks it's going to be today. I also love his use of the word stinker. It's a great way.
We'll be watching closely.
We'll be watching for the stinkers today. Coming up here on College Central, we'll look ahead to today's CAA Game of the Week here on LSN. We'll hear from Drexel's electric Dodger, Colin Mailman. He delivers with some creative puns.
Ooh, nothing like a good pun on a Saturday night. Plus, we'll check in on the huge game going on right now in the Patriot League. Pat Spencer just beating Lehigh. Not on his own, but it feels like it. A tussle for the top of that conference.
And we'll roll through the Inside Lacrosse midseason All-Americans. We'll see if there are any surprises on that list when we roll on here on College Central.
Hey guys, it's Megan with Ellison, and I have some exciting news that you are going to absolutely love. We have a new show coming out called Ellison Off Script, and it's pretty simple. We go off script, and we have the best of the best in the lax world that we talk to. First guest, Miles Jones. Second guest, Marie McCool. We go completely off script, talking about music, fashion, clothes, whatever just comes to mind. So just be on the lookout. It's coming soon.
Speed. Power. This trophy is not given, it must be earned. The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. May 25th through 27th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia.
In the stick, boom, on the money, cradle and a pass. Win the first championship!
Visit ncaa.com/lacrosse to get your tickets today.
Tyler Pace with the Calgary Roughnecks. This is Box Lacrosse 101, and today we'll be working on 1 pick, 2 shots. So we'll have players set up around the 24-foot line. The bottom guy is going to come up, get to the middle of the floor, and then go set a pick. The guy getting picked is going to cut, catch a pass from the low guy, I'll roll, catch a pass from the high guy, and take a shot. 1 pick, 2 shots.
Coming your way, 1 p.m. Eastern Time here on Lax Sports Network, our CAA Game of the Week. Delaware makes the quick trip to visit Drexel. A couple teams expecting to contend for spots in the CAA tournament. This is a big one early on in the conference slate. Watch live here on LSN and the LSN app coming up at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. Your chance to see Drexel's junior midfielder, Colin Mailman. If you haven't watched this game yet, you should. As you can see in these highlights, he's got a terrific split dodge and the ability to shake defenders like crazy. Also has one of the easiest names to make puns off of in the entire country. And Mailman delivered with some good ones when we spoke with him this week. So we were talking about this before we went on, and I'm guilty of it because I've said Mailman delivers a couple of times on the games, and it just, you can't help it sometimes. What are the best puns you've gotten with your last name?
I would say that Mailman goes postal. He really sealed the stamp on that one. Obviously, Mailman delivers. I don't know. I'm just waiting to hear the next one, but I love it all. I think it's pretty funny.
Is there one that's your favorite?
Just I don't know. I can't really pick one. I think they're all pretty funny in their nature.
And I mean, you have to have gotten comparisons to like Karl Malone being the mailman, right?
I mean, I don't think quite yet, but maybe someday.
We'll see if he goes postal today against the Blue Hens. Yeah, I went there. The Dragons are looking to bounce back after giving up a big first-half lead last week in a 1-goal loss to UMass. So Drexel looking to avoid going 0-2. As for Delaware, the Blue Hens have it clicking. They've won a couple in a row, 4 of their last 5, including a dominant CAA opening win over Fairfield.
Another key CAA game to keep your eye on today, UMass and Hofstra, also 1 p.m. Eastern start. The Minutemen, one of the hottest teams in the league on a 6-game win streak, but as we just talked about, got off to that slow start against Drexel last time out. For Hofstra, they finally found their stride a bit, leading Towson at halftime last week. We'll see if the Pride can figure out how to finish off an upset today.
Hofstra not number 4 in the country. Apologize for that. And speaking of the Tigers, they'll look to get to 2-0 in conference play with a trip to Fairfield at 1 p.m. Eastern. The Tigers woke up offensively in the second half last week, but Brendan Sunday quiet again. Just 3 points in his last 2 games after that incredible start to the year. On the other side, Fairfield looking to snap a 2-game losing streak.
Hofstra probably would take being ranked 4th in the country.
Yeah, I think many of us would.
Yeah.
I would personally.
That would be great.
Yeah.
The Inside Lacrosse midseason All-American list was revealed earlier this week.
Yeah, several of these players they keep for a lot of teams in these big games today. So we're going to kind of tell you from that scope. Headlined by none other than Pat Spencer. In action right now, actually, against Lehigh in a Patriot League battle. I'll get you that update in just a moment.
Yeah, he's been good.
Spencer holding the Loyola and Patriot League career records in assists and points. Last week, here's a good stat for you. Spencer and teammate Kevin Lindley each scored 10 points in their win over Colgate. That combines for 20. The first time a pair of teammates have done that this decade. This decade. It's, what, 2019? We've had 9 years of this decade. It's almost over.
Number.
Spencer with 2 goals and 8 assists himself. The senior attackman leads the nation in points per game at 7.33. 66 points in 9 games, 29 goals, 37 assists. And he's also in the top 10 in all those categories in the nation as well. Points, assists, and goals.
Yeah, very well might be the Tewaaraton favorite once again, now that Grand Amen has had a couple of slow games. All right, as we just mentioned, the CAA schedule continues for Towson and Zach Goodrich. They take on Fairfield this afternoon. Goodrich most likely going up against Taylor Stroud, a Fairfield mini. He's got 22 goals and 7 assists this year, but Goodrich, 21 ground balls. He's caused 9 turnovers, also has a number of points. So keep an eye on that matchup throughout today's game.
UMass's Sean Scanoni wasn't on any of the All-American lists in the preseason. Well, now he's on the first team. He's number 1 in the nation in goals against average, number 1 in the nation in saving percentage. Taking on a Hofstra team today who, as we mentioned, competed pretty hard against another good defensive team in Towson last week. He'll need to have his eyes on Ryan Tierney and the gang early to keep Hofstra from getting any momentum, sort of like they got last week at the start of that game.
Started at the bottom, now he's here. The rest of the list looks like this. Grant Amen's already broken Penn State single-season assist record. We'll have our eyes on him. His second game coming back from missing a game due to injury as they take on Ohio State tomorrow night. The midfield features Dox Aiken, Chase Scanlon, and Brian Costabile. Costabile and Notre Dame with that gigantic ACC matchup against Duke. Last year, Costabile with a hat trick in the ACC semifinal win over the Blue Devils. TD Erlin has Dartmouth today. As for the defense, Isaac Paparo drawing likely the matchup with Ryan Tierney and Hofstra. Johnny Surdick has to go up against Chris Gray and BU. That'll be a fun matchup to watch.
More on that in a moment. To the second team we go. Asher Nolting moving up. Big game today for his Panthers. They take on that hungry Air Force team. After falling to Jacksonville a couple weeks ago, High Point looking to keep pace with the Dolphins as league play goes on, especially with Richmond looming at the end of that regular season.
Towson's Kobe Smith, one of 2 Tigers as midseason second team All-Americans. Alex Woodall, the other guy for Towson. As for Smith, he's going up against guys like Ethan Walker, Pat Spencer, Jeff Teat. Today, likely going to have to contend with Dylan Beckwith, the leading attackman for Fairfield. Kobe, Also has 6 goals and 3 assists this season. Maybe he'll add to those.
He's always looking to run in transition. The second.
Get that arm winding.
Yeah, that celebration he got from Saquon. That's right, Saquon Barkley. The second team list continue with Jared Bernhardt and Michael Sowers on the attack unit. Bernhardt and the Terps taking on Michigan this afternoon. Sowers taking on Stony Brook later tonight. Sacred Heart's Max Tuttle on the midfield. He'll look to lead Sacred Heart to their first win ever over Bryant this afternoon. And Syracuse's Brendan Curry, another sophomore on the second team, the Orange, off this weekend. Some youth at defense with Chris Fake there, Yale, as we said, taking on Dartmouth, while redshirt senior out of Rutgers, Max Edelman, who was huge in that win over Ohio State, is in goal. His toughest test yet, though, heading into St. Cow's, take on Penn State tomorrow night.
To the third team we go. Boston University's Chris Gray headlines this list, leads the country with 70 points so far this season. Likely, though, going to see a lot of Johnny Surdick and Army today. That's a tough matchup for Chris Gray and BU. They could really use a win there in Patriot League play against the Black Knights.
Continuing on that third team list, Mac O'Keefe, who scored 38 goals, good for second in the nation. They've got Ohio State tomorrow. I think I just said Rutgers played Penn State. Ohio State, Penn State.
Ohio State, Penn State.
Excuse me, sorry. A freshman on the list in the midfield, Penn's Sam Hanley. He's been a big part of that Quakers 5-game winning streak, looking to make it 6 against a good Brown team. Virginia's Jared Connors getting some love. The junior will be up against that Carolina youth, not California. On defense, Dylan Gaines getting the nod. Villanova put up some points last week, as we attested to, against Marquette. So that Denver D is going to be tested. 2 goalies on the third team, Tim Troutner Jr. out of High Point and Jacob Stover. They're serving up donuts right now.
The stove is lit. Then we have this group at honorable mention. Kieran Mullins from Rutgers scoring 4 goals in that upset over Ohio State. Rutgers at Hopkins noon today. Matt DeLuca out of Delaware, also an honorable mention. You'll see him soon right here on LSN. That's a 1 p.m. Eastern start, our CAA game of the week against Drexel. He's 5th in the nation in goals against average, 3rd in save percentage. Full list of these All-Americans up on InsideLacrosse.com.
So we bring Danny back in here, just real quick, just to get your thoughts on what we just went over. I mean, what sticks out from those lists? And mid-season, it's not the end of the season yet, so what you got?
What sticks out to me the most is how heavy the attack is, right?
It's insane.
We have some great attackmen on the third team, right? The third team was Mac O'Keefe, Chris Gray, and who was the third? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but right there, you have a 50-goal scorer and the kid who's leading the nation in points on the third team.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that shows how good the guys at second and first are, right?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's been missing there, right?
Exactly. No, absolutely. Oh, the third person was Michael Krause.
Yeah.
Michael Krause, Mac O'Keefe, and Chris Gray. Are you kidding me for third team?
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. It's so attack heavy, and off of that, the midfield is a little light, right? We have a lot of opportunities for midfielders, kind of make a statement, make those All-American lists. It's very opportunistic for the midfielders this year.
Well, and I think you see it, and when I went to think about the midfield and my midseason All-Americans, I go, who? Because, I mean, like Sam Hanley as a freshman at Penn and Chase Scanlon, a freshman at Loyola, 2 guys that are on those first 3 teams, both have been probably some of the most notable all year.
Definitely, yeah. Scanlon's done an unbelievable job at Loyola. I think he's deserving of the first team. Definitely a benefactor.
And you like that Virginia midfield too.
Oh,
you think all those guys could be?
I love
it.
Great.
Matt Moore moved to attack, right?
Yeah.
So he's not a midi anymore. But Doc Aiken, he's unbelievable. He's just a specimen.
Yeah,
right?
Ryan Conrad on those lists.
And I was just gonna say, Ryan Conrad, he does it all for them. He doesn't get enough credit. He was a big time recruit coming out of high school, and he kind of found himself in a role he wasn't really used to, playing kind of both ways. A little bit more defense than he was used to, but he has excelled in that role, and he's done an unbelievable job for UVA, and he just doesn't get enough credit, I don't think.
Yeah, he probably could be listed as a short stick guy in those lists as well.
Interesting stuff there. Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it.
Good
Stick
stuff.
with us. We're talking Patriot League in just a moment. Loyola and Lehigh currently in action. An update on that one. And Army, as we mentioned, taking on BU. We'll break it down.
And Syracuse staying in the headlines even though they're not playing this weekend. We'll take a look at their new look for the showdown next week against Cornell.
Look at those helmets. Look at that
Sweet.
blue. Looking a little royal blue.
Uh-huh. Love the throwbacks.
And Duke with some special helmets of their own for a special cause. Jimmy Reagan, a former Duke player, Army Ranger who passed away in battle overseas, honoring the Lead the Way Fund as well with those helmets, which supports disabled Army Rangers and their families. College Central continues after the break.
Jake and Brody are not brothers, not related whatsoever, just share a last name. And Brody with a hat trick.
Towson tying it up, McLean. Nice play here, the big guy coming off of that pick there. Just bodies right there, gets into his defender, and then uses him as a screen, does a nice job, dropping his level.
Tyler Pace with the Calgary Roughnecks. This is Box Lacrosse 101. Today we'll be talking about shuffle passing. As we're doing this drill, we want to make sure that our stick stays above our shoulder and we're passing, we're following through, right? We're not making any cradle motions when we catch it. We're controlling the ball before we release it. And we're not trying to race up the floor as we shuffle. It's more about control than it is about speed.
Tomorrow, right here on LSN, 12 noon Eastern time, we've got the Towson women heading to the defending national and two-time CAA champs back-to-back. James Madison Dukes in Harrisonburg, Virginia. See that game. The rivalry continues. These two, the cream of the crop in the conference. And once conference play starts, you throw the records out because this is going to be a good one.
Been a terrific matchup throughout the last couple of seasons. How about some other big games in the women's game going on and coming up later on today? Northwestern and Hopkins in the second half, a game you can see on ESPNU right now. The question still remains, when you look at the next two, can anybody contend with Maryland and Boston College? Duke and Michigan giving their shots today, and a big Patriot League matchup with Navy and Loyola. Speaking of the Hounds, the men's team in action right now, and man, this is statement made by Loyola. The biggest game in the Patriot League for the Greyhounds all season long, at least what we thought was going to be the biggest game. And the Hounds have been pounding Lehigh. Pat Spencer with 3 goals and 3 assists in the first 9 goals that Loyola has scored. This one's still in the first half. So Danny Seibel comes back in here. And Danny, we've been watching this game throughout the morning. What has impressed you the most about Loyola? Because this is supposed to be their biggest test in conference.
I mean, it's Pat Spencer's world. We're all living in it.
That's what it's, right? That's it.
You know, it's turning into a point day for him. He's 3-3 in the second quarter. We're watching it right now. There's 4 minutes left. That's, it's unbelievable. Just to kind of come out that fast, that dominant. They're putting it in cruise control coming out from halftime. This game's in hand, right? So Pat Spencer's just so fun to watch. He's just an unbelievable talent. It's great for the game of lacrosse, and it's sad that he's a senior and kind of moving on after this year, but he's just awesome to watch.
All right, yeah, real quick, we've got about a little less than 2 minutes to go, but Boston, U, and Army going at it today. Another one, a matchup we're watching. Boston 2-2, Army 4-1 in Patriot League. I mean, this to us has a little bit of upset potential here, but Chris Gray, a guy who can always go off, right? Yeah,
definitely. I like BU a lot. I like their attack unit. I like Chris Gray and James Bird down low at attack. We talked about Chris Gray earlier. He leads the nation in points. He's definitely a problem that Army's going to have to deal with. And BU also has some great secondary scorers, like I mentioned, James Bird. he fills the back of the net. So I think BU has definitely a chance to knock off Army in this one.
Oh, and you look at Army now, they are probably the other team other than Lehigh positioned best to try to contend with Loyola in the Patriot League. Otherwise, this may be the Greyhounds flying through into the Patriot League tournament. By the way, on that Loyola game, Pat Spencer passing Rob Pennell for career assists in NCAA history, continuing to move up through the top 5 all time. He's going to go down as one of the best to ever play the position.
Sure will. It's always fun to watch. And we've got more games. We got more games to enjoy of Pat Spencer. We got to just enjoy it a little bit more now that there's only a few to go.
We do. All right, coming up here, we're about to be done here. 1 p.m. Eastern time. We got your CAA game of the week between Drexel and Delaware. We will see you then. We'll also see you later on tonight. Lacrosse now at 9 p.m. Eastern time here on LSN. But for Tom, Danny, I'm Travis. Enjoy your college lacrosse Saturday.
The following program is a special presentation of Lax Sports Network.
A position that changes the game. The guy who revolutionized that skill. Greg Gorenlian brings the best face-off guys in the country together for the National Showcase, which starts right now. Welcome to the Superdome in Waldwick, New Jersey, where Lax Sports Network presents the 6th Annual Face-Off Academy National Showcase. What's going on there, everybody? I'm Travis Eldridge, and it's crazy to think just about 10 years ago, this would have seemed absolutely nuts. 250 face-off guys